All right, guys, this is your boy like one half endure, and again, this is the week where we have the Nintendo Switch 2 is launching. I hope you guys, those who wanted to get their console, and if you don't like the console, you think Nintendo's a bad boogeyman and hate everything and blah blah blah, then don't buy the console. It's the simplest, easiest thing out there to do. All right. With that said, I want to talk about some good stuff. And again, I want to shout out to Thomas Game Docs. He to the two videos that's going to be up. He's going to be this week's Generation End video. Talk about Mario Kart. Mario Kart's launching at the end of this. Launched yesterday, and hopefully everything's all good. But not all the time do we need to have negative stuff. You know what I mean? We don't have to have negative all the time. Trust me, I know some of you guys have got tired of all the people saying Nintendo's the fault of everything. Boo hoo ha ha ha. But when all the other consoles did it, nobody was crying out for that shit as much. As much. They did, but not as much as they've been. Because now they've been rage baiting, as I call it now. I ain't gonna say I didn't coin the term, but just people just like, oh my god, can you believe Nintendo's doing this? 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 It's like, bruh, I can believe Nintendo's doing it, one. And two, some of y'all, as you all will see, some of y'all people who try to say stuff don't make no sense. Like, the argument makes no sense at all. So let it go. And if you, and stop. But if there's any YouTuber I would tell you to subscribe to, and if you are, Thomas Game Docs is a really good YouTuber, and I'm only saying his name and bringing out a lot of stuff, and because he does put effort in his work. I am using this video. I don't make money off of this, but if you want to watch this video without my commentary on it and my thoughts on it, go and watch it. This Thomas Game Docs does really good videos, and he has my respect. He's not a negative YouTuber. He's just a talk about historian and stuff about the old gaming console stuff, and I like it. So it's shout out and respect to him. So let's talk about how we went from. Now we're gonna talk about the Joy Cons. Now I'll be honest with anybody, and most of y'all had this. We had the Joy Con drift, which was a problem. There was another problem that Nintendo had, and don't forget, Xbox and PlayStation had stick drift as well too. So it's not only just the Joy Cons. So again, I've done a video about that. And the more way to fix those, we are way more hard, way more convoluted on those sides than the Nintendo side. But whatever, I digress. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So there's another problem I have. It's basically because of the rail system. It creates a little gap in a way, and it also makes you lose contact. I saw this issue. I get this issue. It sucks, but at least it don't mess up your game too much. Other than if you're doing a pinpoint something and then the screen pops up, it says, "Oh, you need to make sure it's connected." Then I get that part. That sucks. But a lot of people was like, "Oh, Nintendo, this magnet might be a problem in the future." Well, let's see how Nintendo developed the magnet for the new Joy-Con for the Nintendo Switch 2. Because this started the development of this long time ago. They started it for the Switch 1, but they ran into issues, and here we are again. Here we are, 80, 90 years later, it's implemented.
Which they wanted the Joy-Cons to attach using magnets. But there was a problem. The controllers kept falling off. In the end, Nintendo scrapped the magnet idea and went with a mechanical rail system instead. Fast forward nearly a decade, and the Switch 2 is here, complete with a pair of magnetic Joy-Cons. So, why couldn't Nintendo get magnets to work 8 years ago? And how did they overcome that issue for the Switch 2? Let's talk all about Joy-Con magnets.
Another thing I gotta point out, they went into 2008, 2019. They were literally starting to take the improvements. So they didn't stop development. They wanted something because we had to get something off for Wii U with 5 years. Here we go. But they also wanted to have the continued development and say, hey, let's keep on going.
Part 1. Wobbly Controllers.
Yep.
Our story starts with the development of the original Nintendo Switch back in 2015. The core idea behind the system was a kind of evolution of the Wii U, which could display games both on the TV and also on a second screen, the gamepad tablet. The problem with the Wii U, one of a number of problems, was that the gamepad wasn't actually doing any processing itself. It just received video from the main console under your TV. But that meant that you could only take the gamepad so far away from your television before the connection would be lost. This time round, for the company's next console, Nintendo would put the guts of the system within the tablet itself, eliminating the need for any kind of bulky console under your television. This new system would be truly portable, rather than the kind of half-step that was the Wii U. Early on in the Switch's development, Nintendo knew they wanted players to be able to connect and disconnect two small controllers from the sides of the tablet, allowing the console to transform from TV mode to handheld mode easily. But in early prototypes of the Switch, the Joy-Cons didn't slide onto the sides of the tablet. They were supposed to snap on using magnets. It was a simple, neat idea. Koichi Kawamoto, the producer of the Switch 2, later explained, "Originally, when we were developing Switch, there was the idea to attach the Joy-Con controllers to the console with magnets. You'd be able to attach and detach the Joy-Con controllers right away, making it easier to share them. But there was a big problem. Unfortunately, the Joy-Con controllers would wobble when attached to the console using magnets due to the weak connection. We decided to scrap the idea, as we were concerned it would make our customers uneasy about using the console." When Yoshiaki Koizumi, producer of the original Switch, discussed this idea in a 2017 interview, he made the problem sound far more dramatic.
We tried a lot of different things in terms of connecting the Joy-Con to the console, and one that I was particularly excited about at the time was using magnets, where you can just like snap it right to the console. But as
the good old days where Kit and Krista was assholes. Times has changed, times have changed. When it comes to money, everybody will change their stuff, don't they? Anyway, I digress.
with play, sometimes it would just fall into your lap.
Nintendo's solution was the rail system, less simple but more secure. Koizumi explained, "We still wanted to have something that was sturdy enough for you to hold onto the console, but also gave you that satisfying snap that the magnets did. That's how we came up with the mechanical rails that give you a click." That click sound was so important to Nintendo, in fact, that the Switch plays a sound effect from the console speakers when you slide on the Joy-Cons. It's become an iconic part of the branding of the Switch.
Yep.
And it's a remnant of those original magnetic controllers. The Switch went on to become a huge hit for Nintendo, even without the magnets. As of writing this, the Switch is Nintendo's best-selling home console, and will soon overtake the DS to become the best-selling Nintendo system of all time. But not long after the Switch's release, Nintendo's creators went back to the drawing board to begin work on a follow-up console. And this time, they'd finally bring the idea of magnetic controllers to life. Part 2. Impossible Magnets. With the Switch a worldwide success, work began in 2019, 2 years after launch, on the company's next console. Rather than start from scratch and release a console totally unlike the Switch, Nintendo's hardware team decided to instead evolve the Switch concept, creating a so-called Switch 2, which built on the foundation of the original console. This included improving the screen, increasing processing power, a better kickstand, more social features. and a return of magnetic Joy-Con controllers.
This time, yeah.
With years of experience from the Switch 1, Nintendo's hardware team had a better understanding of what makes magnets work and what makes them not work. According to Koichi Kawamoto, we always wished we could make it easier to attach and detach the controllers, so we asked the Technology Development Department's hardware team the impossible. That impossible request was to make magnetic controllers which felt firm and stable but could still be pulled apart from the sides of the Switch 2, even by children or people with weaker arms. Originally, we didn't have the button that would release the magnet, and so you had to pull. And then we discussed, wouldn't the kids pull it apart?
Exactly.
So my first request was, please use a strong magnet. And the second was, okay, if you want to be able to pull it, please make sure you can pull it. If those two asks sound totally contradictory, then you're not wrong.
But the thing about it though is how people like engineers and stuff like that like to think of things in simple ways. Like it sounds simple for something that's a lot more complicated than it needs to be. And I like that. I don't care if it's Nintendo, I don't care if it's Tesla, I don't care when you look at these tech guys and how they figure out ways and they can't explain it in a certain way, but explain it's just like how Miyamoto did with the whole thing. Like I want to see a bug form, and they were talking about Samus's helmet, so you go first person when they were talking about how to do Metroid Prime. Like I like the simplicity of a complex issue that people talk about. And again, this is not only Nintendo that does this, there's other companies as well in the world. And another part is also the companies is like, to see like how Nintendo, jumping in first person was a pain in the butt, and you want to make sure you're on the right platform, whatever. And all Nintendo did was what? When you jump, your head automatically tilt down, which you would like to want to know where you're jumping to, tilt down so you know where to jump, and made jumping in Metroid Prime was so intuitive. Again, just like with the lock-on and stuff in Zelda and the sidestepping, telling you, man, that's that's another reason I like Nintendo. The simplicity of thinking to get the games to do what they wanted to do. Like it, love it.
Strong magnets which don't wobble or shake, but also weak magnets so that anyone can detach the Joy-Cons. Essentially, they wanted magnets that were strong and weak at the same time. Simple, right? But before we get to how Nintendo solved this dilemma, let's talk about how the Switch 2's magnets actually work in the first place. At each side of the Switch 2 tablet is an indent, within which are two strong magnets. And those magnets attract the Joy-Cons themselves, specifically the SL and SR buttons, which are now made out of metal. According to Tetsuya Sasaki from Nintendo's Technology Development Department, the SL and SR buttons themselves are made of metal because they need to stick to the magnet on the inside. And actually, in console development, it is incredibly rare for buttons to use metal. It took a lot of trial and error until we got there. These large, strong buttons, along with the groove and indent on the tablet and controllers, gave the Joy-Cons a strong and sturdy connection to the Switch 2, meaning that Yoshiaki Koizumi's problem with the Switch 1 was finally solved.
Yep.
Many people who've used the Switch 2 say that it feels almost like the console and controllers are one single body, like the Switch Lite. That's how firm the connection feels.
Good.
So that solved one of the two requests that Koichi Kawamoto gave the hardware team. But what about making it so that anyone, even kids, can pull the controllers off the sides of the Switch 2? Well, that problem was solved in a surprisingly simple way, with a button. All this button does is physically push the Joy-Cons away from the console at the top side, weakening the magnetic pull and allowing users to easily pull them away. No electromagnets or complicated devices needed, just a little lever. All sorts of factors, both within and outside of Nintendo, had to come together in order to bring the Joy-Con 2s to life. According to Sasaki, there were many advancements made in the world of technology, and we were finally able to get to a place where we could use metal in the buttons.
University of
Able to get to a place where we could use metal in the buttons. Part 3. Does it work? So, in early 2024, rumors about Nintendo's next console began swirling. At that
Yep.
point, with no official name confirmed. One of those key rumors was that this Switch successor would use magnetic Joy-Cons. At this point, fans were dubious. I thought magnets were already tried, tested, and ultimately ruled out for the Joy-Cons in favor of the rails during the development phase of the Switch, said one person. Another wrote, "Do people not grasp how impractical magnetic attachment is for a device designed to be suspended entirely by those magnets, let alone be swung around and shaken?" But as the year progressed, more and more sources put their weight behind the idea that rails were out and magnets were in.
Yep.
In January 2025, these rumors were seemingly confirmed when Nintendo officially revealed the Nintendo Switch 2. In their first look video, Nintendo showed the new Joy-Cons snapping onto the sides of the system, complete with that very same satisfying snap which Yoshiaki Koizumi talked about in 2017.
Yep.
The following month, Nintendo's patents confirmed this for a fact. This game controller is detachably mounted to a body device that has a recess that comprises a first magnet and a second magnet at the bottom of the recess. It was officially the start of a new magnetic era for the Switch. And, like I said, everyone who's got their hands on the console has said that these new Joy-Cons feel firm and strong. Actually better connected to the console than the rail system from the original Switch, which can get weaker and wobbly after
Yep.
years of use.
Yep.
So, I think this whole process shows off a core trait of Nintendo, which
Exactly what I'm saying and how they do stuff over the years. Do all this stuff works? No. No, they don't. But I like the commitment. They're like, hey, we found an idea, let's keep doing it this way. And again, I like the ingenuity and the innovation that they've done compared to what Kazi said. But oh, this is not the most. It might not be, but hey, it still has that way of making something ingenious and simple to work together.
is to never throw away an idea completely.
Yep.
Nintendo tried stereoscopic 3D with the Virtual Boy.
That's true.
Then tested and discarded it for the GameCube before finally getting it right with the 3DS.
3DS.
Ideas for Metroid Dread were conceptualized back on the DS before being shelved and finally brought to reality in 2021. The Switch's magnetic Joy-Cons follow a similar pattern. Magnetic controllers didn't work in 2017, but Nintendo held on to that idea, and now here we are, almost a decade later, with the company's big new console starring magnetic Joy-Cons. If at first you don't succeed, try again. So, when you snap your Joy-Con onto your Switch 2, remember, it took Nintendo nearly 10 years to get that snap right.
Exactly. And again, Thomas Game Docs is the name of the channel. Check it out. They tell a lot of stuff about Nintendo and old games and everything. And like I said, respects to his channel. I have another video that, like I said, is going to come out about as you can see in the bottom screen right there, we'll talk about the Mario Kart. He did this video a couple years ago, but he revamped it he re-uploaded and added more information because of the Switch 2, because of Mario Kart World coming out. So check out, if you've never seen it, you want to know how Mario Kart started from the beginning all the way to now, that will be this week's game Generation N. It's not really a Generation N like N, but it's about how we went from one to another, an evolution. And we talk about all the games and the spicy stuff behind them. As you can see how he talks, and like I said, I've added my little bit of cohesion here and there. I let him do most of the talking, out of like most of my game when I try to talk stuff on it. But my point of saying is, hope you guys come back and join me for this game generation and video Mario Kart, the evolution. That's what we're gonna call it. And I hope you guys are enjoying your day, and hopefully you get your pre-orders, and hopefully you guys get the chance to enjoy your Switch too. Remember, people are like, oh, Switch 2, Mario Kart World is not the only game you play on Switch 2. You can play old games on that, and I have so much games that I never played on my Switch 1 that I could play on my Switch 2. And that's how I am setting up my library. Like games like Xenoblade, because of certain things. I did a video to tell you guys to don't upgrade your console until yet, but because some games like Xenoblade or Suiden and all that stuff, those games I'm gonna play on my Switch One, my OLED of course. I'll play it on that because of the save files. I don't want to destroy it, and then I'll wait until Nintendo calm down and people do some more stuff, because you can lose your thing. Even though I'm different in that regard. But I have not updated my Switch One to do the game card sharing and none of that stuff. And Nintendo have been aggressively like, hey, upgrade, but I have not upgraded yet. So I have not done that because I want to see something. But something like what game I have that, and the games I have not played that I bought and I have definitely not played. Games that I've bought and I have not literally played on the Switch One, and it's still in the box and everything else. Like Paper Mario, I've not played Paper Mario or Paper RPG, Mario RPG, and all those stuff. I'm gonna put that on the Switch too and play that and let the game files be there as best as it can on that console. So that's how I'm gonna do it. So with that said, again, I hope you guys are having a good week. Enjoy it. I'm gonna try to be as positive as I can this week, as I'll continue, as you guys have seen, and hope you guys enjoy and pick up. I hope there's no many major problems for the Switch 2, but nothing's perfect out there, right? Nothing's perfect. So, because again, what's perfect to me is not perfect to you. What's perfect to you is not perfect to me. Simply enjoy games on all consoles, including PC and mobile devices. Catch y'all next time. Peace out.